This is episode 11 of the Millennovator podcast, and you have heard that patience is a virtue before, but you're about to learn why.
We've had to bring things down to a level that makes a lot more sense to folks rather than talking about this in a super marketing sense, and that's what's really opened things up for us in terms of acquiring a lot more customers.
You're listening to the Millennovator podcast, where we host the most innovative millennial entrepreneurs, and you learn the secret tips, proven tricks, and profitable tools they have picked up from entrepreneurial infancy to straight up business empire, and every stage in between. And now, your hosts and money Millennovators, Jonathan and Will.
Give me the right now, go right down. I'm trying to sit it now, go right down. We trying to get it now.
Would you consider yourself an innovator? Gosh, I hope so. An early adopter, an early majority, a late majority, or a laggard when it comes to consumption?
What was that last one again?
A laggard. That's 2 G's.
Laggard.
That means you're old as crap and you don't do mess until it's way behind. As in, you just bought the iPhone 5 and it's 2017.
No, I don't have the 8 or the 10, so I am behind, I guess.
See, I am an innovator because I am on the way to this. That is a lie. I definitely have a 6, so you're not considering me an innovator on the new iPhone.
Yeah, I got a 7 Plus, but I'm
But
behind.
the point is, sometimes your market is not ready for your product. The vast majority of the market is not ready for your product.
So what do you do in the meantime? That is the question.
You hustle. You do everything that you can to make money and teach your audience about your product so that eventually those early adopters hop on and then you see magnificent growth.
So we have Josh Hanum today on this podcast, and very unique story for Josh that has to go right along with what Will's talking about here. Josh has had a company for, I don't know, what did he say?
3 years.
I think 4.
4
maybe.
years?
Yeah, I think 4. And he'll tell you about it and what they do. Very unique business plan. I really like it. I think it's genius.
Let's just say quizzes.
Yeah, we'll just leave you at quizzes. But the market was not quite ready when he thought he was ready, correct?
No way. Yeah, nobody understood. Everyone had taken these quizzes online, but nobody had thought of them as a lead generation tool. But Josh realized he had one that was converting at like 75% on a website, and he realized, whoa. Maybe we should just make this like the key component of our marketing agency.
Oh, yeah. I think that at the time they were actually creating websites, and they're like, well, this is actually converting way more than anything we're putting on the website. So
Like
let's
3,000 times more.
Yeah, exactly.
So they created Interact, which does quizzes for companies. But the key here is no one wanted or no one could think about having that as a lead generation tool.
And I think nobody could really just comprehend how to do that. I think that's what's so great about their company is just the idea of how to utilize that. But like I said, the market wasn't really there yet or didn't really understand quite yet how to do that.
And it speaks to being an innovator is not always easy. Like people think like innovative people come up with the best products. Everyone wants to buy them immediately because they're the most innovative new things. That's a tough lifestyle. You have to teach your consumer why they need what this new product is because you're the first one bringing it to the market.
So here's Josh. Super excited for you guys to hear his story and just the perseverance and the patience it took for him to get going.
Let's dive in.
Check it out one time, I gotta show it to you. And if you love hip-hop, I'm about to roll with you.
We are sitting here on Skype, right? Because we sit on Skype. That's how we do. It's a prepositional
We sit
phase.
a lot.
We're sitting on Skype here with Josh Hanum of Interact. Josh, how's it going?
I'm doing excellent today. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Excited to have you.
All the way from Oakland, right? So you're based out of Oakland. You and I chatted a couple of days back about how Oakland's the new San Fran, right?
Yeah, it's really popping over here. I mean, there's literally a skyrise going in across the street from us that used to be a parking lot. So it is the most cliche thing ever. But that's pretty much what's happening here right now.
I didn't know you were in Oakland, man. You get a lot of Warriors games over there?
Oh, you would bring that up.
It is awesome. The Warriors parade went literally right by our office, and we are on the second floor. So
That's sweet.
all the guys went 20 feet, away from us. And sometimes when I'm walking to work, I'll run into one of them as they're, walking from practice because their facility is right by my apartment.
Also tough to miss somebody of that stature.
Yes, you see them and you're like, that is a tree. Oh, no, that's Then the other thing is that Marshawn Lynch's shop is also right there, so he's around all the time. So it's a fun time to be in Oakland.
I forget Beast Mode is out there now, so that's neat.
Yep.
Well, hey, as an Alabama fan, Amari Cooper does play for the Raiders, so I got a little bit of love there. And Jack Del Rio obviously has some roots here, so support.
There you go. Yeah.
But man, you mentioned your office, and you and I have chatted a little bit. You guys are growing pretty quickly. Can you tell our listeners that are out there tuning in about your company and who you guys are, just on a very high level, what you do?
Yeah, so I'll give you the party version, which is what I tell to people at parties when they ask me what we do. And we are a platform for making quizzes like the ones that you see all the time on Facebook and on BuzzFeed and other websites like that. So it's the what kind of coffee drink are you quiz. It's the which celebrity are you most like quiz. But we have a platform so companies can create those types of quizzes to use in their own marketing and to build up their email lists and acquire new contacts. So it's a platform for that. We currently work with almost 40,000 brands now around the world who have used our quizzes to collect 5 million new contacts through Facebook and their websites and things like that. So that, in a nutshell, is the platform that we have created.
That's crazy.
Well, let me first say, commend you, because so many people are stuck out there, and I'm sure you never faced any adversity having people come up to you and say, of course I can utilize this for leads. That makes all the sense in the world. But let me go ahead and say, and we'll cover that in a second, let me go ahead and say, can commend you for being ahead of the curve on that, because gosh, the most important thing as a company that you can do is grow a relationship. And really, truly, people say email is dead. Email is not dead. Do you check your email?
I do. I primarily use email, actually. I block off pretty much everything else, and I only respond to email a lot of the time. So I do a lot of email, and yeah, it's definitely not dead. I think it's dead in the traditional sense where you can't send out a stupid blast to 1 million people and expect them all to buy your product. But you can send personalized stuff that actually has meaning, and that's always going to work. That's just communication.
Josh, you said personalized, and that's the question I wanted to ask you after what you talked about with the quizzes. When companies are using these, are they able to brand them?
Yeah, so they're able to brand them, and then you're able to also send out different emails to people based on which personality type they get. So you could send out one email to a latte person, and one email to a dark roast person, and one email to a pumpkin spice latte person, which we'll ignore those people. And
hey, Josh, come on. It's October at the time, almost October at the time of recording this, and you just put a dagger in my heart all the way from California.
It's just too basic. It's too basic.
That's great timing. We watched a video today about this basic woman going into a doctor, and it was a psychiatrist, and he's like, yeah, you're definitely basic.
Oh, you gotta watch the guy version of that too, the basic bro. That one is
nice.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Stitches. It's amazing.
So speaking of that, what you're doing is definitely not a very simple, well, it is a simple and basic thing at its core, but you kind of had to develop this idea because people have seen these quizzes, as you mentioned, all over Facebook, on Reddit, on Twitter, but I'm sure that not everyone easily adapted and said, this is the most brilliant idea to collect leads. So can you walk us through a little bit of how that works? When did you guys form to market this to business? Because you are B2B, correct?
Yeah, we're B2B, and you're absolutely right. I still get that question all the time. And I was just texting back and forth with a friend, and she was like, wait, I don't really understand how this works. And this was yesterday, and we're 4 years into this business, and people still don't grasp how a quiz helps you do anything meaningful. They think it's just a silly quiz thing. So what we had to do, and we've been around for just over 4 years now, and things have gotten better because there's more people that are privy to this concept of using quizzes for marketing. But at the beginning, there was absolutely no one. So we sold it as a tool for generating leads, and we never really talked about it being a quiz until we got to the implementation part where it was okay, we're going to set up this quiz for you. That's how you're going to get the leads. So we actually started from the end, which is the lead generation part, capturing those contacts for businesses. And then we worked our way back. And now things are evolving a little bit. So there are a larger group of people that are keen to this concept of using quizzes for marketing, but we still run into it all the time. And so we just have to be really good at, and something that I've had to practice a ton is explaining concepts in a really easy to digest manner that doesn't use a bunch of buzzwords, that doesn't use a bunch of marketing speak. And we've had to break things down into just the smallest units of understandability, the least common denominator of speech, and turn that back into conveying what we do in terms that people who may not really grasp this concept understand. That's kind of a convoluted explanation, but basically we've had to bring things down to a level that makes a lot more sense to folks rather than talking about this in a super marketing sense. And that's what's really opened things up for us in terms of acquiring a lot more customers.
I get that, and I want to say that is one of the most difficult and overlooked aspects of being an entrepreneur is simplifying everything. In fact, we had an episode, it was episode 6 with Jack Blake of 8080. It's a small boutique vlogging company. And he was reaching out to influencers and actually landed John Lee Dumas as one of his first paying customers to vlog for the week at a conference out in Anaheim. And he just threw up this whole email chain to JLD and was like, we're going to do this. We're going to use this equipment. We've got this, with that. He's like, what is vlogging? I don't understand what you're doing. And he said he took a step back and he said, I'm going to walk around and film you just like Gary Vee has somebody do for him. And JLD was like, oh, I love those videos Gary Vee does. Let's do it. Right? Like, how simple.
That's a super good point too, and one that I have run into. So I was just talking about this the other day, that you can simplify things down, but oftentimes what it ends up being is so and so is doing this. You've seen that. We do a similar thing, but you can use it. And that is one of the biggest breakthroughs that we've had, is just understanding that people don't want to be the first person to do something, and they don't want to necessarily try to grasp a new concept at all. But if you can say, so-and-so in your space is using it, this is how it's done, they're like, oh, I'll do that. So as much as you can simplify your message down, a lot of times it does end up being so-and-so is doing it, so I'll do it. And that's more powerful even than the best argument you can formulate.
Yeah, you mentioned people don't want to be the first person necessarily, and you guys, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but y'all seem to be the kind of a first company taking advantage of these quizzes and
as a lead gen opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we kind of went straight into what your business is, but I kind of want to ask you about, as we are talking to a community of entrepreneurs, what led you into entrepreneurship, and I guess, how did you found Interact? Like, what was the process and the story behind all that?
Yeah, and the skills you picked up prior, right? Like, were you in marketing?
Yeah, so my entrepreneurial journey is, 10 years long now. I'm getting old. So, so my entrepreneurial journey started at age 15 in the good old town of Turlock, California, which is in the Central Valley of California, which, if you think of California, Central Valley is not what you think of. It's basically the Midwest. And so it was hit hard by the recession. This was 2007. Everyone there, the effective unemployment is absurd. It's like 35%. Wow. So 1 out of every 3 people doesn't have a job, or they're on welfare or stuff like that. So when I was 15, I tried to go work at Little Caesars. I tried to go work at Pizza Hut. I tried to work at Jamba Juice. I tried to work at Burger King and every other joint in the town. Didn't get a single interview. And so I was like, shoot, what do I do? Because I grew up pretty impoverished. So if I wanted to do anything, I had to make money. And so I decided to print up a bunch of flyers and then go door to door, basically selling lawn services. I knew how to install sprinklers and install lawns because I had done it in my own backyard. And I was like, somebody should pay for that because it's hard work. And they did. I landed a gig installing a lawn for a UFC fighter at a very discounted rate, which in retrospect was not the smartest thing to do because he sat there in a lawn chair. He's like super ripped, tattooed guy watching us install his sprinkler system and sod in the hot sun. It was about 110 degrees the whole week we were working.
Brutal.
But I loved it because I had gone out, solved this problem of I want to make money, I want to do something, but I don't know how. And I had always been a tinkerer before, but now I could like tinker with starting a company, which was amazing. So that's where the bug kind of bit me. Shortly after that, I hurt my back because carrying sod, which is the grass rolls, they're like 60 pounds.
Yeah, they're heavy.
Josh, I was really hoping you were going to say the UFC guy just like totally like, yeah, I'm timed you, like installing the sod or something. But that's okay. So there were no lawsuits involved in this.
No lawsuits involved, but I did eventually hurt my back carrying sod. So by the time I was like 16, I had like torn some discs or whatever you call those things in your lower back. So I couldn't carry sod anymore, and I had to switch over to buying and selling laptops. So I did that for a while on eBay and things like that, did a few $100,000 in business. In high school, I had a group of people working for me that were out doing what I call slanging laptops.
Nice.
And so we did that for, my last couple of years of high school. And I tried to do it at the beginning of college and nearly failed out of school. I was on academic probation after one quarter, failed all 3 of my classes. So I had to stop running my company and running out of class to go sell laptops. And I took a break for a little while. And while I was taking that break, I met my co-founder, Matt, and we both wanted to work on stuff. We didn't know what to work on. So we started a small agency, basically pitching clients on building websites, just like I had pitched people on installing lawns, but you're building a website, and he knew how to build a website, so I would go out and pitch it, and we'd make some cool money. And then one of those clients requested for us to build him a quiz, a sales personality quiz. What's your sales personality? And we put it on his website, and the thing converted like crazy.
Josh, what year was that, if you don't mind me asking?
That was 2012.
Okay, so that's kind of when you guys had some wheels in motion. You were like, this is working. Should we replicate? Is that when the idea hit you?
That's when it hit us, because we would build these entire websites for people that converted at 1%, literally 1%.
So frustrating, isn't it?
And then we built this quiz. The thing converted at 75%.
Wow.
Jeez.
That's absurd.
3 out of 4 people that went to his quiz opted into his list, and we were like, what the hell are we building these entire websites for people for? Why don't we just do this?
Yeah.
And it was way harder than we ever imagined it would be. It took us a year before you could even build a quiz on our stupid looking website that looked like a form that you filled out to make a quiz, and no one ever wanted to use it at that time. But we knew that it was so insanely powerful that we had to do something with it. We had seen this problem. We knew it was real. We had a solution for it, but no one was interested in quizzes, and more specifically, no one was interested in using our quiz platform because it was bad. And so it took us a long time. It took us a year to build something anybody could use. It took us another couple of years before we hit real significant traction. So that's a whole other story, but that's kind of the founding idea and kind of the background behind where I got to start Interact.
So Josh, let's briefly talk about that year of developing. Were you guys seeking customers and growth and failing at it? Were you guys just like, look, this is an idea, it's going to work, let's put our nose down and put together the minimal viable product for it? Like, where were you like waiting tables at the time? Like, what was your life cycle like at that stage? Because that's one of the most frustrating, difficult times for those listening. So many people in our audience are right there right now.
Gosh, yeah, it is rough. So during that time, that year, I had 3 things going on. I was trying to work on building that product with Matt. I was trying to work on selling that product with Matt. That's one thing. The second thing was running agency stuff still. So I would literally ride my longboard down to see clients and work with them for hours, and then they'd cut us a check to keep things going. And then I was also finishing my senior year of college. So I had class 5 days a week.
So you had lots of time on your hands.
So much time. We mostly ended up working on the product on nights and weekends. I would, run from class to go see clients. I remember sitting in class getting, angry emails from beta users that couldn't use the website because we hadn't built a login system yet, which we had no excuse for because there was actually no login system on our website. So there was like all this stuff going on at the same time, and it was a hard year in retrospect. When I was in it, it didn't feel so hard because it was just exciting. There was so much stuff to do. I never had a still moment. So it was just constantly going. But looking back, it's like, oh, geez, that was kind of a lot of stuff to be doing all at the same time.
Yeah, I think as an entrepreneur, whether you're wearing a hat as a student or a hat as a sales team, a hat as an HR team, a hat as a growth team, a hat of the web dev team, like you're doing it all, right? And I think so often entrepreneurs who have seen a bit of success, which you have, and I want to get into that in just a minute, but they look back and they're like, how in the world did I even do this? How did I have the capacity to do this? But it's about grinding through it, right? I mean, you can't think about how am I doing this at this point in time, like when you're in the moment. You just got to put your head down and get through it.
Yeah, and I think, now I can say with confidence that I'm doing more now. Like I did more today than I did during any of those days when I was in college, and up to this point, it's 3:30 in the afternoon. Like I already did more today than I did during that time. But I've learned to embrace it. Like I've learned to love the ridiculousness of it, where it's just like from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. today, I have meetings every half hour, and I love it. And then after that, I'm going to go work out, and then I'm going to see some friends and go to sleep, and then I'm going to do it all again tomorrow. You learn to actually embrace the chaos of it all because it is so ridiculous. And there's going to be times in your life that are slower in the future, but for now, you're in it. You might as well do it as much as you can.
And all in, right? Like,
yeah,
that's very important.
Yeah.
So how about your customer today? Let's talk about where you and Interact are today.
Yeah, so Interact today has gone off the rails. This year, we've grown 300%. We will grow at least 400% by the end of the year. So gone from about 250 up to 1,000 paying customers within this year. And it took us 3+ years to get to the 250. So that gives you kind of a scale of how ridiculous that is. We've gone from 3 employees to 10, and we'll add a few more before the end of the year. So the thing is taking off like an actual rocket ship. Like it's taking off in hypergrowth the way that you think of a hypergrowth startup, which is kind of a weird place to be, having started with those 3.5 years really of like slow growth. Like we were a startup, but we weren't growing like a startup, and now we actually are. So that's where we are today. Is it's in this place where it's just kind of bonkers.
I think it's really cool that you have that amount of growth, but you have the capacity to handle that growth, right? I think that's a big mistake for a lot of people is they want all this growth, but when it finally gets there,
implosion.
It just implode. I mean, we've seen even bigger companies, their websites go down because they can't handle the traffic. So I think that's really cool that y'all are able to, handle all that and really.
And you were prepared to handle it, right? Like you knew from the beginning, this is gonna happen. At what point is it? Because this is going to happen. I'm not taking no. I'm preparing for absolute madness. Let's do it. Like strap in,
Exactly. Yeah. Now it's happening, and we spent. It's not like we were twiddling our thumbs for 3 years. Like we were building this crazy infrastructure to our product and to our platform that can handle a ton of people. And now we have quizzes that do 1 million hits in a day perfectly fine. We have times when there's, hundreds of people building stuff on the platform, with, megabytes or gigabytes of data like being transferred and downloaded through images and videos and stuff, building quizzes at the same exact time. And all of that works smoothly. Like there's often days where Jane, who runs our customer success right now, will come in and be like, dang, there's like not that many people on support, but we have so many people using the product. So we had all this time to build up something that works. It's super robust. It's got like all the documentation, all the help stuff, all these things. Now it's just kind of time to backfill with customers, which is what's happening at this point.
Great process to be at. And your typical buyer, is that someone who is placing media for someone else, like an agency model, or are you working directly with the business themselves and somebody within their marketing team?
Yeah, we do a lot of both. It's primarily within the actual marketing team. So that's probably 80% of it is just actual companies coming to us. But we do also work with quite a few agencies. That's where the 20% comes from.
And those are folks who just need interaction. They need relationships. They need to be reaching out to people who want to know more about their product, but haven't yet said, here's a good outlet for me to learn about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the quiz is such a natural conversation starter. It asks people questions, and people love answering questions about themselves. So you ask people questions, they talk about themselves, they get wrapped up in it. And then at the end, they're like, hey, enter your email and we'll send you some suggestions. And then on the actual page, they can also say, here's some suggestions in real time. So then you're personalizing your whole website to this person. It's a unique experience for every visitor. And you're really just dividing people into what they're actually interested in based on the quiz.
That's awesome. Well, Josh, your story, I mean, we both love your story because it's so unique, and I think it's so different from anybody that we've interviewed on our show thus far.
Yeah, 3 years of, almost 2.5 years of just waiting, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, that's-
like you
yeah.
said, not that you're twiddling your thumbs, but it's so easy to throw the towel in at that point, man.
I think just
So-
the patience that you had and the belief in what you're doing is incredible. But that being said, what advice would you have to any millennial entrepreneurs who are, side hustling a business venture, or they're kind of in that same boat you are? What would you think your best advice to those people would be?
Yeah, so I have some keen advice into this given my experience with those really 3 years of kind of struggle. And it's that if the thing you're working on, whether it's a side hustle or you're all in on it, if that thing is improving your life outside of the thing, so if you're developing good habits because you're working on a business, if you are being more aware of the fact that you need to spend time with people that you care about because you're like, okay, I'm working on this thing, but I need to be cognizant of the fact that I need to invest in my relationships outside of that to keep my health good. If your mental health is good, if all these things are improving because you're working on your startup, never give up. There's no reason to. You're just getting better. It doesn't matter if that startup works. Whatever you do next will work, or whatever you do after that will work, because you're getting better as a person. On the other side, if it's tearing your life apart, if you're letting go of relationships, if you are not keeping up with your health, if you're not exercising, if you're not eating well, not sleeping because you're stressed, that's the time you really need to look at what you're doing and decide, is this the right time to be doing this, or should I just not do this at all? And actually ask yourself those questions, because so many people just force themselves to do something because they feel like they should, and it's not improving their life. But if it's improving your life, then there's no reason to stop, even if it's not going well. So that's my best piece of advice based on my experiences.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, obviously you have to, I think it's good that you're saying not just to look at your business, but look at your life as a whole, number one. But also, obviously we are here, this podcast, this whole Millennovator movement is to help people, create businesses and be entrepreneurs. But at the same time, you can't be afraid to let something go if it's just tearing you apart.
No doubt.
And while we want to everyone listening to be entrepreneurs, sometimes you just have to let it go.
Yep, exactly.
Just like,
Well, and I told Josh, I'm the first guy in a room at a conference who says, somebody's asking, hey, raise your hand if you've started a business. Oh yeah, I'm fired up. Yeah, of course. Raise your hand if that one business failed. Yeah. Let the second business fail. Yeah. The third business. But raise your hand if something finally has worked out and you're like, heck yeah, man. That's the point, right? It's
Yep.
growing as a human being, as a person, as an entrepreneur, to where you are ready and prepared when that one moment strikes.
Yep.
And you can crush it.
bounce on
And that's where you're at right now. And so for Josh, the people who are listening who have mad traffic but can't convert, first of all, I'm so sorry that you're in that situation. It is very frustrating. Get yourself out of it. If you've got traffic on a website and you're not getting email addresses or phone numbers or building relationships with your audience, please start doing that. But Josh, where can people find you to possibly utilize what you've got and your tools and your systems in place?
Yeah, so our website is tryinteract.com, tryinteract.com. And then you can reach out to me through the website, or I'm also on Twitter at Hanum. You can reach out to me there, answer questions and things like that. So check out the website. We do have a free version that you can get started with and play around and kind of see how it all works before diving into anything.
That's awesome.
Sick. Josh, thanks for being here, man,
Yeah,
sharing
man.
your story. This podcast is all about motivation, and you brought it today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Check it out one time, I got a show to do. And if you love hip hop, I'm about to fuck with you.
All right, I can totally resonate with Josh's story of almost dropping out accidentally, failing out, I guess that's the word, of freshman year of school, because I was the same way. I was pushing advertising for our newspaper and hustling and seeing big commission checks. And that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to meet with business owners and get their word out via advertising. All he wanted to do is flip the laptops and crush it. I mean, the guy was making six
Flipping
figures.
laptops. That's crazy.
Basically building a business refurbing laptops. That's an entrepreneur at heart right there.
But you have to make a decision ultimately, right?
Yeah.
Am I going to pursue this business and all the cash I'm making, or am I going to get my degree?
Right. And it seems that what he's done has paid off completely. And talk about a payoff, like we talked about in the intro of the show, the market wasn't quite ready for what he had.
No.
But that didn't stop him from preparing for once they were ready.
That's what I think the most awesome part about his story. Well, I guess the best part is just the perseverance. Something that I talked about and brought out in the interview is just exactly what you said. Just being prepared and having the scalability so when that traffic did come, you're ready for it.
Yeah, and here we are. We are, almost 10 months into 2017. They started the year with him and his co-founder and a web developer on the team, website engineer guy.
Yeah.
And now they are about to hire their 10th employee. 300% growth. Like, they're killing it. They have some, like, 1 million results on one of these quizzes. And I mean, they were prepared. Like, you can't just have a basic host and have that kind of traffic to these quizzes. They're doing it right. And there's no way that any of that would have happened had they not known and confidently said, this is going to blow up. What do we need to do in every avenue on every street of our business to be prepared for that growth?
Yeah, I think that's so cool, just the confidence he had in what they're doing. I mean, I feel like most people, and I'm trying to think for myself, if you're going through 3 years where you're not seeing anything out of your business, how easy would it be just to throw in the towel and say, this isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, well, and you mentioned that in the episode too, and I couldn't agree more. There are times where you do have to kill the pig, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
like there are moments where the business is not going to work.
But just the foresight he had.
Well, and
the
he saw the
vision.
product work. Like
Yeah.
the product had proven it was going to collect leads
He just knew he had to get it out there so people could see it.
and teach people about, like, why is this important? I never thought about using a quiz as lead gen, and I'm our marketing guy. Like, that's my specialty. I love that stuff, but it's brilliant. So kudos to Josh, man. That is just awesome. And I want to challenge you to think about, like, how are you preparing for mad traffic, or how are you preparing your business to scale? What are the small things that you can do today to create super success and foster that super success in the future? Because the last thing you want to do is be featured in a big pickup magazine or a big article online and not be able to handle the traffic or the growth and just totally implode.
Yeah.
That is the worst decision you could ever make, is not preparing for the large future today.
And speaking of mad traffic, I want to tell everyone to visit our website, Millennovator.com.
Yeah, if you haven't joined the community on the site yet, you're really missing out. We have got some awesome people in our community. I love talking to them via email. I get emails all the time. Hey, this was a great episode. Hey, this was a really cool blog. Love that bonus resource, by the way. Those kinds of things. Like, we have all sorts of stuff there waiting for you, resources. Jonathan, correct me if I'm wrong, and I hope that we're both on the same page here. But this podcast is really just a motivational tool. It's an inspiration piece, right?
Yeah, we're just
Like, this is a
inspiring.
great plug-in to what we have on our website, which is actual, like, tools and tips and tricks for you to actually use. Get on the site, use these things within your business, implement them. The podcast, this is just inspiration for you, man.
Oh, so true, so true. And like Will was saying a few minutes ago, we love your feedback. So whether that's on the website or iTunes reviews, whatever, we'd love to hear from you and hear what you have about our show, who you want on the show, or different things you feel like we could do for the website. We're always down for feedback.
Down for feedback. So head over to millennovator.com.
2 L's, 2 N's.
2 L's, 2 N's, and check out some of the resources we've got there for you. It is awesome. I can't speak enough about the side hustle site launch tutorial that I have for you guys. You can also find that at millennovator.com/side hustle site launch. So go check it out. We will see you on the next episode, friends.
Bye-bye now.
I gotta show the dude. And if you love hip-hop, I'm about to fuck with you.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to call your mother and tell that woman that you love her. And if you love the show almost as much, subscribe to us on iTunes and leave us a sweet review. We're definitely not ashamed to blush. Now, go forward and implement what you learned from today's episode into your business. We cannot wait to personally hear your story of success and replicate it 1,000 times over.
Give me the mic, not now.